Hello and welcome to this review of the Mistress Trilogy historical romance book series by Tracy Ann Warren. I'm Olivia, your favorite resource for book recommendations you can easily screenshot. You're watching Random Olive Reads. First up is My Fair Mistress, which is book one of the series. We have a widowed lady, Juliana, who is trying to take care of her younger brother's debts. So she goes to the debt holder to beg for leniency, only for the man, Rafe, to offer her the position of his mistress for 6 months to forgive the exorbitant debt. She hesitantly agrees, mostly so that her brother doesn't lose his estate and so that her younger sister's debut into society will not be affected. Now, Juliana is ready to sort of do her duty, but she doesn't expect that the very cold and calculating Rafe will treat her well or even deal with her own pleasure. However, she begins to look forward to their afternoons together and they become more emotionally entangled than they originally anticipated. Sort of in the background there, Rafe is seeking revenge upon a group of lords who are responsible for the death of his fiancee many, many years ago. Also in the background, Juliana is trying to shepherd her younger sister through the marriage mart. Now, at some point, these worlds collide because one of the men that Rafe is targeting has also started courting Juliana's sister. So there's a whole lot of danger to protect each other from. And so the second half of the book deals with these sort of dangers and secrets and protecting each other and all of that. An Accidental Mistress is book two of the series. We have young lady who fakes her death to escape her stepfather and the man that she has been arranged to marry. Now, Lily dresses as a boy to travel to London, and on the way there, she meets handsome Marquess Ethan along the way. When in London, in order to claim the inheritance that's left by her maternal grandfather, she has to pose as a widow in order to kind of take control of those finances. Now, a week or so later, Lily and Ethan cross paths at some society dinner, and he pursues her for an affair. He thinks she's a widow, so totally fine. She's not actually a young, innocent miss, well, except that she is. Anyway, there's a lot of back and forth here as Lily refuses at first and then finally gives in to her desires. Eventually, though, Lily's secrets will catch up to her. Plus, Ethan has this like verbal understanding to possibly marry one of his neighbor's daughters. So there's that sort of deception and um, secret keeping there. His favorite mistress is book three of the series. This one starts with the daughter of the villain from book one, who is, I think, 17 or 18 years old. She is trying to avenge the death of her father, but then she realizes that her father was really a villain. Now, Gabriella is the illegitimate daughter of a viscount and an actress and has been orphaned by both of them. Her uncle, Rafe, from book one, offers her a home and protection, and while she's hesitant to take him up on it, she's convinced by her friend to do so. While she's kind of under this protection, she meets Tony, who is the Duke best friend of her uncle. And he, of course, is interested in seducing her, even though she's technically an innocent miss and he needs to stay away from her. With her entry into the ton for the social season, Tony tries to stay away from her, but that doesn't actually work out, and eventually they need to marry because they get caught in some circumstance. Tony has some tragic backstory with a terrible mother, distrust of women, and a general inability to love. Meanwhile, Gabriella is young and idealistic and believes that Tony has proposed to her because he's in love, despite him being unable to declare it. Of course, this ultimately leads to heartbreak for one or both of them because they're just so different in their ability to confront or express true emotion. So these three books are tied together by the male main characters who are best friends. So Rafe, Ethan, and Tony are all friends and became friends while they were in school. So that's the kind of through line for this series. Now, this series suffers from the same problems as other books published in this decade, which is the 2000 aughts. The men of this book are a bit too pursuant of the women for trysts and affairs, for less than noble interactions, and it kind of falls into the questionable side of consent, especially since in the second book, the female character is like, "No, I don't want an affair. I'm not interested." Blah 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 until he kind of finally wears her down. Now, the first book was actually the best in terms of consent because the two people clearly laid out the terms of the lady becoming the man's mistress for 6 months and where and when they would meet. So she had a lot more agency to say, hey, this has to be a secret. No one can know. We have to meet somewhere where no one can see us. And I can't meet with you at night. I have these social events. So that was actually the clearest in terms of the female character having agency over her own life. So, overall, the series was sort of middle of the road for me. The first one was my favorite because of that back hot half with the villain plot. The second two books were just okay. You'd probably be fine without reading it. But if you're a completionist like I am, I tend to finish the series no matter what's going on. Thank you so much for watching this video. Links to all of these books are in the description box. Like and subscribe so you don't miss future videos, and you can follow me on Instagram at randomolive.